Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today we have some very big breaking news coming out of the Valorant scene. This was just posted about 5 minutes ago by George Geddes, so we're right on top of this one. And this is something that we had kind of been holding our breath about all day today. So many different teams this week are wondering who's getting into the Valorant partnership program and who is not. And slowly we started getting more and more teams announced, and then it became clear that there was going to be a couple of teams on the bubble. There's only so many spots. 30 spots around the world, 10 spots for the Americas, 10 spots for like Europe, EMEA, and 10 spots for Asia and the more Eastern countries. And even in just the Americas, it was rumored that there was only going to be 5 to 6 NA teams because there's going to be a couple, Brazilian teams, Latin American teams, all that different stuff going on. So yeah, there was only going to be so many teams, and there's a lot of big NA orgs. There's the 10 LCS teams, and there's some other just Valorant only teams. And this is a report coming out from George Geddes. Sources: TSM likely did not secure partnership with Riot for next year's Americas League. Players and owners alike do not believe they got it. Likely means Optic players will look elsewhere. This is piggybacking off a former George Geddes report where he said TSM was looking into trying to pick up the Optic roster, which would have been absolutely insane. If TSM did get into the partnership and then picked up the Optic roster as well, this is a roster that is competing for like world championships and world titles right now. Instantly would have bumped up TSM to like, an S tier roster and team and org, especially going into the partnership franchising system, whatever you want to call it. So this would have been huge, but man, this is a huge hit to TSM. And obviously we can speculate about why TSM was not chosen. Does this have anything to do with Reggie and his relationship with the LCS? The fact that Reggie has been investigated, that he has, been under probation. Does this tell us something about TSM's financials? Does this tell us about something between Riot and TSM and their relationship or anything? I don't know. Also, TSM, you can say they're a huge fan base, a huge org, all that. They are not what they once was. The TSM socials and the TSM YouTube and TSM Twitter and stuff, they're not putting up the numbers they used to be. And also the TSM Valorant team, even though they were doing really well at the beginning of Valorant, the Wardell team that was winning tournaments and competing for titles and had this rivalry with Sentinels and all that. That is not the TSM team that we have seen like into 2021 and into 2022. Wardell was a very popular. TSM was a good team. They were insanely popular, but now they lost Wardell. They don't have, as many of the big, exciting personalities, and their team wasn't that great. Yes, they got a little bit better towards the end of 2022, but still ultimately came up short. So, you just have so much drama, controversy, all this stuff going on with TSM, on top of the fact that they don't have a lot of big Valorant personalities and creators under their brand right now, and on top of the fact that their team wasn't that good either. And again, when you're talking about just 5 or 6 slots, and you have orgs like C9, Sentinels, 100 Thieves, there's just a lot of really strong teams out there, and ultimately, TSM was just going to be competing for like 1 or 2 spots. So the fact that they didn't get in, or again, if this is true, we still don't know for sure whether or not they were going to be getting in. This isn't totally shocking to me, but it is at least a little bit interesting because obviously TSM kind of heralds himself on being the premier esports organization in the world, and not being part of the 30, again, top 30 teams chosen around the world. Obviously in the Americas, you're only getting top 10. That's still going to be a very big hit to TSM and their egos, but also their bottom line. You have to assume that their investors and their sponsors are not very happy about this. You also have to assume TSM is absolutely devastated right now, but also not very happy with Riot for not choosing them, because obviously they have had a very long relationship, and you have to assume they think they are responsible for a lot of the growth and success of the LCS over the years, and now Riot not kind of repaying the favor to them. Again, if this all does end up being true, but George Geddes has been a pretty good source overall so far in his Valorant reporting career. There has been tons of other stuff coming out about Valorant today from many other people. We have George Geddes saying that he heard Excel and Ascend are not making it into EMEA, so we're still waiting on what that's going to mean for G2. George Geddes has heard that Cloud9, Sentinels, and NRG have all secured partnership with Riot as well. He has his individual reports for all those teams, which I thought was interesting. We have Alejandro Gomis, who has been putting out a ton of stuff. He says BBL has gotten into the EMEA partnership. He says Heretics have gotten into the EMEA partnership. He tweeted out, that Liquid had got in as well. And then here's George Geddes' article on .esports with Scott Robertson about the TSM news. North American esports organization TSM is unlikely to secure spot in the 2023 BCT Americas League. The status of TSM's Valorant division and whether it will compete in challengers, drop its roster, or leave the game entirely is currently unknown. And that's crazy because, again, TSM wants to be one of the biggest orgs in the world. LCS viewership has been declining. We don't know what the future of League of Legends, especially in North America, is going to be. But Valorant's this new shiny thing on the up and up, and it's already like an S or S plus tier esport. So being able to get in on that early is so huge. So this is definitely a big shot to TSM. But you got to assume they're going to stay in Valorant. You got to assume they're not just going to not be in Valorant, because that wouldn't make a ton of sense either, because it is such a big up-and-coming game. But yes, the financials, you got to assume for the Challengers League and stuff, are just not going to be there. But TSM, if they are in as good of a financial position as they claim or whatever, they should be able to take that hit for a year or two or whatever to eventually be able to get promoted, or to just get into the franchising as it expands or whatever. But several owners and players have cast out on TSM partnering with Riot since yesterday. The development might be considered a surprise to many, not just TSM fans. They have an exceptionally long-standing relationship with Riot, and was one of the first organizations to publicly announce its application. TSM also fields a women's roster in TSMX, as well as an academy roster. By failing to secure partnership, TSM's reported pursuit of the star-studded Optic roster will likely come to a close. Yes, that would definitely make sense. They entered Valorant in 2020 by signing the Mouse Spaz roster and found a great deal of early success. Again, we kind of already talked about that. TSM as an organization has also been in the spotlight over the past few months via its founder and CEO, Reginald. He was accused of verbal abuse and mistreatment by TSM employees, prompting an internal investigation and a Riot one. Reggie was fined by Riot and placed on a 2-year probation. Again, I'm sure things that did not work favorably for TSM going into this whole thing. Obviously, that's not great. Again, in the grand scheme of things, I'm sure, Riot and TSM are going to be able to get through this, and Reggie's going to hopefully learn from this stuff, but the timeline of just when all this happened is not great. And again, when you're competing for 5 or 6 spots against a lot of other good orgs that have a lot of other great things going for them, there's other teams with big fan bases, there's other teams with big financials, there's other teams who have big capabilities on social media and brands and all this stuff, whose owners maybe aren't on probation right now, who maybe weren't under so much investigation this past season, who maybe weren't, just with all the negativity and the drama and the controversy and all this stuff, and who just had better teams, or who have bigger names, or who have been more supportive in terms of the influencers in the space, and have just done more exciting things in the Valorant scene so far. To me, TSM has not stood out as a Valorant team or a Valorant organization. Early 2020, they absolutely did. I was a huge fan of the TSM Valorant team. Those Wardell teams, that was insane. That was awesome. That was fun. Viewership was crazy. But since then, TSM, at least in my opinion, and obviously in the opinion of Riot and maybe some other people, has not necessarily been synonymous with Valorant, like in many ways. So I don't know. Again, I don't find this as a total shock, but it will also be very, very interesting, if this stuff is true, to find out where the TSM players are going to end up going, or how many of them are going to stick around with the org into Challengers or whatever. But yeah, the TSM roster at the end of the year was actually pretty decent. They were pretty good. They were winning some games. So are these teams, are these players going to be able to find new homes, good homes? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But man, this is a very, very big new developing story. Like I said, this is just coming out a couple minutes ago, so this still could change. There are tons of rumors going around right now about who the last couple spots are going to be. Is it going to be G2 coming to NA? Is it going to be, Xset, The Guard, EG, 100 Thieves? Who are these last couple of teams going to be when you add in, again, the Latin American and Brazilian teams and all that stuff? But man, crazy day. This is a crazy time, and not only do we still have more Valorant franchising or partnership slot news coming out, but then once we get all these partnership slots settled, then the roster mania is going to be insane after that. So I'm really excited to be making a lot more Valorant content coming up very soon. This is not going to take anything away from our League of Legends coverage, but man, an exciting time. Again, don't want to dance on TSM's grave or anything like that. I think they've done some questionable stuff over the last couple of years, and maybe what goes around comes around to some extent at some point, but obviously they are still a very big org who has been doing some things better as of late, and I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back from this, but we'll have to wait and see. Definitely a very rough day for TSM, the fans, the organization, the players, because even if you don't like TSM for whatever reason, there are still humans who work there, and there's definitely some good people and all that stuff. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about anything we talked about in this video today. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.